What's going on, my friends? Hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Anomaly. If you don't already know, you can follow me on Instagram at Dream Rare. You can follow me on Twitter at Legendary Energy. You can check out my website. I have news analysis, poetry, music, and digital strategy at legendary.vision. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook if this is your first time. Please check out some of my other videos. I have news analysis, poetry, music, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of live streams, and some very important stuff. So check it out. And I always ask, just at minimum, just consider it. I don't care if you agree or disagree. Just consider what I'm saying. In light of the recent, week and the ramp up of the mainstream media, it's hard to really say it's a ramp up, though. I mean, that was a big ratings boost, a big event, but they've been pushing this narrative for 2 years now, so that was like a perfect event for them. I mean, it's been 2 years worth of billions of billions of billions of billions of billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of ads run to make everybody think that everybody who doesn't agree with them is a Nazi. And I've said that for over a year. So even before that event, their whole plan is to say, hey, if you don't agree with the mainstream media narrative, you must be a Nazi, you must be a white supremacist, because there's no other way you can agree with us. It's a trick, because obviously there's more than two ways to think. There's millions of ways to think, and everybody's an individual. We're not based on our skin color, our political affiliation, our religion, or our race. We're individuals. But the media, of course, they don't want us to be individuals, and it raises a very important question. Is the media and is politicians of the past trying to socially engineer a civil war in the United States? And it's not out of the realm. Somebody might say, hey, you're wild. Why would you think that? Trump is, Trump's so bad. Trump's the worst, and everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies when he gets out of office. But it's honestly very foolish to not even consider that, because this is the whole message that I've been bringing to my channel forever. I said I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I'm weighing out the evils. And a lot of people, they're so emotionally drawn, they'd rather hate Donald Trump and close their eyes than embrace reality and know their history and know who the real oppressors in the United States of America are. It wasn't Donald Trump. I'm sorry, he just got there 6 months ago. Is he responsible for the failing health system, the fact we have the worst food in the world, the fact that our pharmacy industry is terrible, the fact that our education is falling, the fact that we've started wars in multiple countries and we're bombing 7 countries and drone striking innocent civilians? I'm sorry, but those things existed much longer than Donald Trump. So to close your eyes and just say, oh, it's going to be perfect when he gets out of office, that's foolish, because these people, you're John McCain's, you're Barack Obama's, you're George Bush's. These people are responsible for some of the most costly wars in modern history. They're responsible for civil wars and the overthrows of leaders that left complete power vacuums. And in many cases, terrorists took over, or fringe groups that were much worse than the original government. This happened in Ukraine. And you look at pictures of the Ukraine civil war that was engineered by Obama and McCain. Looks eerily similar to Charlottesville. You look at Syria, Iraq, Libya. These are civil wars that were literally engineered and hidden by the media. This happened. This happened before Donald Trump, and actually, President Trump in Syria stopped that from happening again. The president, Bashar al-Assad, is still there, and 600,000 refugees went back to Syria these last couple of weeks, these last couple of months. Nobody cares, because the media doesn't tell people to care. It's easy to socially engineer people. It's the easiest thing for them because they control 90+% of the media. And for all of the media sources they don't control, they're going to say, oh, you're a neo-Nazi now. You're a white supremacist. You're allying with the white supremacists. Progressives, Bernie Sanders supporters, Jill Stein supporters. I've told you this all year. And look at it happening now. Oh, if you don't agree with us, if you don't agree with the mainstream media narrative, the same one that brought you the war in Iraq, the same one that brought you the war in Libya, the same one that brought you the Ukraine overthrow and the Iran overthrow, then, oh, you're siding with the white supremacists. I told you this. I told you they don't want you to have a free thought. I told you months ago they were going to do this. So now that on Twitter I see Bernie Sanders and progressives in panic, like, oh my God, we're being labeled white supremacists now. I told you that. They've been doing that. You've just not been paying attention. It looks eerily similar to all of these things. And I'm sorry, but it wasn't Donald Trump who tried to start a civil war in Syria. He stopped a civil war in Syria, and he started the return of refugees. This is President Trump. They'll never talk about it on the news because they don't want you to know what a decent person he is. I'm sorry. I'm not saying he has the be-all, end-all, but it wasn't him that created Iraq and Libya. These are the people you're retweeting now. These are the powers you're trying to run into their arms and say, yes, liberate me from Donald Trump. You mean the same people that liberated Ukraine? The same people that liberated Iraq? The same people, the same media sources, the same politicians that tried to liberate Syria and liberated Afghanistan and Yemen and Somalia? They're not liberating anywhere. They're starting wars and starting covert civil wars, and in some cases, not covert. You know, they have a plan for everything. Okay, well, Al-Qaeda and ISIS are there, so we got to go. Meanwhile, they're growing and growing and growing, and no one's paying attention. Don't think for a second that they wouldn't do this here, because they would, and they are. And half the country knows it, and half the country has got their eyes closed and says, Charlottesville's bad and racism is bad, which is 120% true. I'm not disagreeing with you, but the difference between us is that I understand what politicians of the past done. I understand what the media has done. I see what they're doing now, and you don't. You're letting raw emotions and your hatred for one person or one small group take over everything. And if that happens, they'll be successful because it's so easy to manipulate people. Twitter, Facebook, Google, news. Say something people like and just manipulate them. These are the same people that have caused civil wars all over the U.S. And the reason, most likely, that they did it there was not to help anybody. Look at every place that we've ever intervened and tried to bring democracy or tried to bring better government and equality. It's been a mess every single time. I can't think of one time since maybe the 1960s that we've gone somewhere and it's got better. Everywhere that we follow these George Bushes and John McCain's and Barack Obama's and mainstream medias, it becomes a mess, a power vacuum of terrorists. And if, God forbid, something like that happened here, and we were, say, instead of being the United States, we were in the Middle East, and say we were Syria, our news would be calling us terrorists. We would be the French terrorists. We would be these people from the inner city are terrorists versus the people from the rural areas, they're terrorists. I mean, it's easy to paint a picture. That's all they do is paint a picture for you. Race, religion, gender, groups, pictures. And luckily, tens of millions of people here aren't falling for it, but a lot of people are. So this is just my fair warning. I'm fine. Life is blessed. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm not worried one bit, but my question is, are they socially engineering a civil war? They've done it in 6+ countries, so it's not out of the realm to say. We know that they've done this in other countries. We know that we've intervened in other governments, most of the time to push an agenda, to get some money, to control more of their area. So what do you think is going to happen when for the first time in who knows how many years, a president wins that's not one of them? That's not part of that power structure that actually has good intentions. Whether he's accomplishing them or, has the best way of portraying it to the people, it's debatable. But this is what happens when someone that's not tied by lobbyists. That's why Trump's allowed to talk about the pharmacy industry. Where's all the progressives? Where's all the Democrats? Everybody unanimously agrees that healthcare could be better. Yet when President Trump goes at big pharmacy, all of a sudden, pharmacy's innocent and the lobbyists are the good people and he's so mean. That's how dumb people are. He's the one president that's not tied into the military-industrial complex. I'm not saying he's doing a perfect job. I'm not saying he's not going to do some things, but he's not tied into that. Before, it wasn't random. General Wesley Clark has said, these 7 wars have been planned since 2001. And he worked side by side with Bush. It's out there on YouTube. Anybody could watch it. General Wesley Clark. Check it out. 7 wars in 7 years. He claims they're planned. I don't know. I'm not a general. That's what he said. And now, in Syria, he reversed that. Trump is stopping civil wars. Trump is stopping our government from overthrowing other governments. And how does the media portray it? They lie about everything and they use your emotions. I don't care if you like the president. I don't care. I didn't like George Bush. I'm not asking you to like him, but I'm asking you to use your mind. I'm asking you to not paint all of these people who have started multiple wars and multiple regime change wars and multiple civil wars. I'm asking you to not run into their hands. How hard of a debate is that? And somebody like me, or somebody like a progressive or a Green Party or a libertarian or a free thinker that's just like, hey, you know what, President Trump, he's not as bad as people are saying. Immediately get attacked by people. Attacked and labeled by the media. This is not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence they painted it like that and that and that. It's not a coincidence. They've spent billions of dollars to do this. They purposely did this. It's not a coincidence that I say something on Instagram or I say something on Twitter and someone comes to me, oh, you're a Trump supporter? I mean, I'm a human being that didn't even vote for him, but I don't know, I have a brain. Is that a crime now? Like, I'm not, I mean, am I like a supporter in the streets with pitchforks? Like saying I'm going to defend, no. I mean, no, I'm not who you're painting me to be. That's not who I am. I'm just an American, a human being that has a brain, that has common sense, that has rational thought, that has love for people, that understands that ignorance and hate is everywhere, but also beauty and love is everywhere. And I understand that I have the power in conversations and in life to bring out the best in people, just like you do. If you go into a situation assuming the worst with the president, with other people, you're going to take that out of people because your actions change other people's actions. How you act, how you look, how you receive people will change how they act towards you. So a lot of times it is self-manifested. And right now I see it on a spiritual level. Tens of millions of Americans think it's a good idea to manifest the worst onto America. To manifest the worst onto the President of the United States. To believe all of these media lies and manifest the worst onto our society, onto our communities. And it's disastrous. And it's not random. This is not just a random act of, one racist guy who hit an innocent girl. That's not what this is. This is engineered. 100%. I'm not supporting these people. I'm condemning them. I condemn stronger than most fake people on Twitter acting like social justice warriors. I condemn neo-Nazis. I condemn them here, and I condemn them in Ukraine when Obama and McCain funded them to start a civil war in Ukraine. So I actually condemn neo-Nazis. You don't. These people condemn them when it's convenient for their agenda. Oh, yeah, I don't like neo-Nazis here, but I'm going to totally ignore the ones in Ukraine that were funded by the politicians I love. So who's the neo-Nazi supporter? I condemn hate and violence and regime change war and civil wars. So I'm doing it in Syria. I'm ecstatic that 600,000 refugees are going back to Syria. The people that were screaming travel ban are silent. I haven't seen one travel ban activist mention the fact that Syria has 600,000 refugees returning to Syria. Do you care about Syrians? Do you care about people with darker shades of skin? Do you care about religious freedom? Do you care about Muslims and Christians and Jews? Or do you just pretend to hate Trump? And then when 600,000 Syrians, by the way, it's a secular country, so you could be Muslim, you could be Christian. It's a great place to be. They're very religiously free and good to the women. Do any activists care? Do you see any of the activists that screamed bloody murder, that screamed Muslim ban and travel ban? Are any of them talking about the fact that 600,000 refugees this year went back to live in their cities because now ISIS and Al-Qaeda don't control them? Well, why don't ISIS and Al-Qaeda control them? Because President Trump, instead of funding them, stopped funding them. Very basic concept. Instead of going around the world, starting civil wars, starting wars, and funding Nazis and funding terrorists, President Trump had a crazy idea. He said, let's not fund neo-Nazis. Let's not fund terrorists. And you know who's still funding these fringe groups? It's not President Trump. It's the people pointing the finger at him because they're purposely engineering this civil war. They've done it other places. They've done it 10 plus times. And that's what I try to explain to people. President Trump might be this and that and this and that, but he doesn't start world wars and civil wars. He's a good person. He's already done more with Charlottesville than any president ever has regarding one death. I mean, people have been shot 40, 50, 60 times in one day, and there's 7 people dead here, and no one talks about it ever. He's doing a memorial. He condemned neo-Nazis. He condemned white supremacists. He condemned all hate and all division from all sides, like any president of any country should do. I mean, you can't be a singular focus. What type of president says, I'm only going to talk about this hate, but all the rest of the hate and violence is okay because it's not politically correct to say? That's why we're here. That's why we're blessed. Because that's what other politicians did. That's how wars start. That's how violence upticks. That's how hate and violence get okayed and get literally funded. There's organizations that are violent and hateful that are getting funding. This is the reality that we live in. This is not what I want. This is not what I wish. This is not what I project. This is happening. And just because it's not on the news, and just because people aren't tweeting about it, and these egotistical, self-centered, quote-unquote social justice warriors, or quote-unquote whatever, I don't care what, I don't even like to use labels. But these people don't really care. All they care about is getting rid of Donald Trump. And I'm the bad person. I'm supposed to be the mean guy because I not only care about the bad things that Trump is doing, but I care about stopping a civil war and stopping world wars and stopping a massive refugee crisis that no one seemed to care about. And that's the difference. Everybody wants to paddle at the top of the pyramid instead of looking at the root causes. If you want to knock a tree over, do you smack the leaves? Because that's what people are doing on Twitter. That's what people are doing on Facebook. That's what people are doing following the media. They're smacking the leaves, expecting a tree to fall down. I'm going at the root causes. I'm trying to help real hate, real ignorance, real negativity, real racism, real bigotry, real wars. I'm going at the root causes. That's how you knock a tree down. You don't swing at the leaves. And Trump is a leaf at this point, and in many cases, he's attacking the root of the problem. He stopped the root of the problem in Syria, which was the funding to moderate rebels. And do you know what happened? As soon as he stopped the funding to moderate rebels, within 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, a month, people return to their cities because it's easy to solve problems when you go at the root of the problem. If a hose is leaking, do you smack the water or do you keep trying to... That's what people are doing. Here, fill the water up, fill the water up, fill the water up. It's never going to stop. It's a cycle. It's engineered to be this way. If you really want to stop the hose, you turn it off. That's what I'm doing. It's what President Trump's doing in a lot of ways. I didn't even vote for him. I have no agenda besides peace and prosperity and freedom and equality for all races, religions, and genders. I'm pro everything. It's just the truth, and I'm not afraid to say it. They've created a culture that's afraid to say the truth. They've created a culture that's afraid to mention that President Trump's doing a few things. It's not by coincidence. The media is owned and controlled. Past politicians are owned and controlled. President Trump, not owned and not controlled. Me, not owned and not controlled. Notice a pattern? And you want to run away from the people not owned and controlled because it feels right and it goes to, your emotions. And I know tragedies happen and there are bad things and there's things that President Trump can do better. And there's times that, I lose my cool and I could do better. I'll admit that. I'm not perfect. The president's clearly not perfect. But does that mean we start a civil war and we run into the hands of people that have started civil wars and have engineered civil wars and have used the media to make billions of dollars off of fear, hate, and emotions? What incentive do they have to not do this stuff? They have none, because when an event happens like this, it's everywhere. We're incentivizing them, and I'm not saying to not cover it. I'm not saying it's not important and it's not, breathtaking and things that you want to share. I'm not saying that, but I'm just being honest. What incentive does the news have and do politicians have to not cause crises and to not put the public in a mass uproar? Because every time the public goes in a mass uproar, they make a lot of money. They make 20 times as much money as they normally do. People don't believe the news anymore until a crisis happens. Then their revenue skyrockets. What incentive do they have to not do that? And now they're out of power in a lot of places. President Trump has drained part of the swamp, so to speak. So they're not in powerful positions like they used to be. They still have a lot of power and control, but now they have more incentive on top of just the revenue of putting everybody in a mass crisis. They have more incentive to try to push it further and further and further and further, and even perhaps start a civil war or a world war, because that will give them the chaos they need to then come and be the solution to. So it's up to us to keep our cool, make our communities better, have conversations, show love, listen to both sides, because I'm telling you right now, just because we had a fringe weirdo and we have tens of hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people who are ignorant, who are stubborn, who have this idea that they're better than people because they're just stubborn. It's ignorance. I've had hundreds of people in my lifetime think they're better than me, be supremacists in a sense. They think they're supreme to me for whatever reason, for their upbringing, for their wealth, maybe for their race, maybe for their religion, maybe because their parents told them that they're better. I don't know, but I know on a root cause, there are supremacists everywhere. There are ignorant people who think they're better than you based on some random thing, race, religion, gender, upbringing, wealth, and they're not. But that doesn't mean we start a civil war because of the ignorances in people. We solve that. We show people love. We show people, hey, no matter how many people say they're better than me, I'm going to rise and become what I am. And then there's no debate. So I don't really care what other people think of me. I know what other people think of me. I know there's not many people that thought I would get here. I know almost no people thought I would get here. Friends, family. I'm not saying they didn't love me and believe in me, but I'm saying I don't think people knew what I was capable of. And I didn't let that stop me and say, oh, well, they think I'm that way, so I'm just going to feel this bad and this. No, I'm going to do it. So if you're being treated like that, just do it. Do whatever they're saying you can't do if it's in a good direction. But to play along with the news and get socially engineered into a war, they've done this before. This is not out of the realm. This is not a reach. This is a fact. They've done this before. This has been done before. And these are the same people that are anti-Trump. A large reason that I became pro. I looked at what they were doing and I said, man, if all of these people really don't like Donald Trump, he must be the real deal. Because I heard the narrative. He's a billionaire. I heard it. He's a billionaire. He's the same old, same old. He's part of the elite. I heard that. But actions speak louder than words. So while everyone was saying that, I was watching the actions of the news sources. I was watching the actions of the politicians. And I realized these foul people who start wars and don't care about anybody, they were not on his side. So I was like, man, he really is a rogue individual. And he's proving it with his actions in the months of the presidency. I mean, one fringe lunatic and a group of paid or unpaid, activists clashing and the police stepping down and letting these people clash doesn't represent our country. Just because the media wants it to represent our country, that's what they want to do. They want to take that small event. They're not going to show you the millions of amazing things that happen every single day between people of races, religions, and genders. There's millions of amazing conversation. There's millions of amazing things. There's babies being born. There's families having fun. They'll never show you that because they want people to think that is America, and it's not. America will be that if we keep thinking it's that. That's the manifestation, and they've been doing that to us. They've been framing our society, and they've been framing other societies. Look up Ukraine. Look up Syria. Check out Iraq, Iran, before the 2000s, back in the 19-whatevers. Libya. This has happened. And we can't let it happen here. And the way we prevent that, before I go, is don't label everyone a neo-Nazi and a white supremacist. That's what they want you to do. The people who literally empowered neo-Nazis in Ukraine want you to call everybody a neo-Nazi. Does it sound sketchy? It is. Don't fall into it. There's tens of millions of conservatives. There's millions of libertarians. There's millions of progressives. There's millions of Democrats. There's millions of Republicans. There's millions of people who just don't really care. And we're all individuals. We were all at some point sculpted in this society. Nobody was born racist. Nobody was born sexist. Nobody was born Republican or conservative. They were sculpted by society, whether it be media, whether it be schools, whether it be parents. Somebody taught them to be that way. So why even hate somebody? Even the most foul person on any fringe side, even somebody who hates my guts, who doesn't want me to exist based on my race or my religion or my gender or my culture, I'm still not even mad at them. Somebody taught them to be that way. And that's fine. Just leave me alone. And I'm not going to hate that person. I'm going to try to heal and help. That's just what we have to do. So please don't fall for the traps. Have conversations. Don't let small, ignorant things make you realize the world is beautiful. If perspective matters. You could either think we're in a burning building and everything's collapsing, or you could look at nature and oceans and be like, oh my God, this is heaven. I'm blessed. I have food. I have water. I have shelter. There's billions of people that don't even have clean water. People don't have shelter. People don't have what we have. If you have $20,000 or $30,000 in the U.S., you are in the small percentage of blessed people in the world. Embrace it. Do something with it. Come together. Don't believe the media narrative that the world is melting. It's totally not. And they're going to try to engineer. They're already trying to. I mean, it's obvious. A coup. And even if it means civil war, I don't know, but I don't think these people care. Based on their track record, I don't think they have a moral high ground. They're the ones that are acting like they have the moral high ground with Trump, and everyone's believing it, but I don't think, based on their track record, that these people have a moral high ground. So be very cautious, be very aware, show love, have conversations, but please don't melt down, because that's what they want us to do. Stay strong, stay happy, stay blessed, and let's keep prospering. Let's not let the media paint our picture. Let's paint it ourselves. Thank you guys for joining. I'm going to post my link below if you would like to donate. If not, it's all good. Have a meal. Feed your kids. Feed your family. I'm good. I'm blessed. So I want you guys to have a good weekend. All right, take care.